Hi, 7th grade. We are in lesson 2, session 3. Okay, we are still talking about unit rates. Remember, unit rate means one of something. And we're really going to use fractions this time, and we're going to turn those fractions into division problems, okay? I'm going to skip the example, and I'm going to go straight into number 1. Felipe has a flower bed with an area of 25 divided by 4 feet squared. He expands the flower bed to have an area of 75 feet squared. How many feet of space does the larger flower bed have for every square foot of the smaller flower bed? Okay, so I know this is going to be kind of strange, but just bear with me here. What we are going to do is we are going to take the large bed, because it wants to know for every square foot the large bed have, what does the small flower bed have? So the large bed is 75 fourths. I'm not going to worry about reducing this because I know that it does reduce, but we're not going to worry about that right now, okay? For every large bed, we have a small bed at 25 fourths. So we're going to make this from a rate like this. We've learned that we can write it like this. We can also write it like this. 75 fourths divided by 25 fourths. Okay, let me erase this. So this is our problem. This is what we're going to work with. 75 fourths divided by 25 fourths. Now I'm going to rewrite that over here, and I'm going to rewrite it so that it's horizontally. Like this. Okay, now that I've written it like this, how do I divide fractions? There's our fun rule: skip, flip, and multiply. So we're going to skip the first one, we're going to flip the next one, and then we're going to change the division sign into a multiplication sign. Okay, so let's do it. Ready? We're going to skip it, so 75 fourths. We're going to flip it, so 4 25ths, and then we're going to multiply. Okay? All right. These two cancel out, which means we are left with 75 25ths. Now, 75 divided by 25 equals 3. So the question says, for every square foot of space the large flower bed has, what does it have for the small flower bed? So the answer is 3 square feet. I'm going to say feet squared. Okay? Make sure you show your work on this one. Let's recap what we did. First, I took the big flower bed and I divided it by the small flower bed. When you divide fractions, you can rewrite them so that they are in horizontal form like this. When you divide fractions, you skip the first one, you flip the next one, and then you multiply, okay? And that's what we did right here. If there is a number that is the same on the top and on the bottom, they cancel each other out because that would be the same as 4 over 4. 4 over 4 is 1. So that's why we canceled them out. And then we just took the 75 and wrote it over here, and you just take the 25 and write it right there. Okay? That's how we got that. Then we took 75 and we divided it by 25 and got 3. All right, let's go to the next page. Amir runs 1/10 mile in 2/3 minutes. What is his speed in miles per minute? Do you guys remember what I said this word means? Per. Per means divide. Okay? If I want to take miles per minute, that means I need to take the miles per the minute. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Oops, I don't want a highlighter. I'm going to take miles, per means divide, minute. Now, when I'm dividing fractions, I like to write them horizontally, so I'm going to rewrite it. Okay, how do I divide fractions? Well, that's easy. I skip it, I flip it, and then I multiply. So this will stay the same. I skip that, I flip this, and then I change the division sign to a multiplication sign. Now you just multiply straight across. What is 1 times 3? 3. What is 10 times 2? 20. All right. So what that means is that his speed, I know it looks funny because it's a fraction, 3/20ths, but what it means is his speed is 3/20ths of a mile per minute. Okay? So if this was my 1 mile, here's the start, here's the finish. And if I split this up into 20 pieces, that means he can run 3 of those in 1 minute. Okay? And we solved that by dividing the miles per the minutes. So here's my solution. 3/20ths of a mile per minute. All right. Number 3. Oh, you guys, I'm not a huge fan of this question, and it takes a really long time to explain. It is not something that I think is pertinent to all this, so we're going to go ahead and skip number 3 just for time's sake. I don't want this video to get too long. I promised you that I would try to make videos less than a half hour long each time. So let's skip number 3. You're welcome. Okay, number 4. Ronnie is making rice pudding. Let me go ahead and zoom out on my book over here so I can see the answer. Okay. Ronnie is making rice pudding. She uses 3/4 cup of white rice for every 2 cups. I don't know about you guys, but to me that sounds like a rate, right? 3/4 cup of rice per every 2 cups. Per means divide. 2 cups of milk. How many cups of rice does she need when she uses 3 cups of milk? So what we need to do first is we need to make this into a unit rate. Remember, a unit rate means 1 of something. This is not a unit rate. It looks like this. 3/4 to 2. What I need to do is I need to turn this into a unit rate so that I can solve for this problem. Now, we learned how we can make things into unit rates. We can divide, right, and reduce the ratio over here. But what do you do when there's a fraction in it? When there's a fraction, I want you guys to rewrite the unit rate, or the rate like this, to a fraction like this. Now, when we are dividing using fractions, I like to write it horizontally. So this is actually 3/4 divided by 2. Now remember, all whole numbers could be written as a fraction like this. That's what I want us to do this time. Now, how do I divide these fractions? I skip it, I flip it, and I multiply. So I'm going to skip that one, so it's going to be still 3/4. I'm going to flip this, so now it's a half, and now I'm going to multiply. Multiply straight across. 3 times 1 is 3. 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, I got a fraction, 3/8. But what does that mean? What that means is now I have a unit rate. Okay, so what we're trying to say here is for every 3/8 cup of rice, we will be using only 1 cup of milk. Now do you see how this looks like a unit rate? Because we have the 1 of something. Now, with my unit rate, can I now go solve how much rice it takes if I have 3 cups of milk? Yeah, easily. I can just take the 3 and multiply it by 3/8, right? Because really I'm just going to take 3/8 plus 3/8 plus 3/8 to get 3 cups of milk. So instead of, adding 3/8 plus 3/8 plus 3/8 plus 3/8, I can just take 3 times 3/8, okay? Or, you know what else I could do? Since I know that it takes 3/4 cup to get 2 cups. Couldn't I just take 3/4 and just add 3/8 to it, which is 1 more cup of milk, and then still get 3 cups? Let's do that. I'm gonna go ahead and move my paper over here just a little bit so I have some room to do this problem, because I kind of wrote kind of big with my unit right there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take 3/4, because I know a 3/4 cup made 2 cups of milk, 3/4, and I'm gonna add 3/8 to it. That's my unit rate. How do you add fractions? Well, you have to have common denominators. I'm going to make this denominator into an 8 by multiplying it by 2, but whatever you do to the bottom, you've got to do to the top. So now this is going to be 6/8 plus 3/8. Now I can just add the tops. 6, 7, 8, 9. Keep the bottoms the same. 9/8. What does that mean? That means I need 9/8 cup of white rice for every 3 cups of milk. Okay? Let's recap how we did that. First, we took this little rate that it gave us. It's not a unit rate, but we took that rate. We created it into a unit rate by dividing the two. Okay, I skipped, I flipped, I multiplied, and I got 3/8. Then, that's my unit rate, right? I took that 3/8 and I just added it to this 3/4 to make 3 whole cups, and that's how I got 9/8. Let's go on to number 5. For every 1 of 150th square mile Xavier mows, Bao mows 1 of 200 square miles. How many square miles does Xavier mow for every 1 square mile Bao mows? So here's our proportions. We want to go for every one that Xavier does, how many does Bao mow? It's going to be a fraction, or we're going to divide, okay? So I'm going to take Xavier and put him on top. I'm going to take Bao and put him on the bottom. Now, how do I divide fractions? I write them horizontally. Then I do the skip, the flip, and the multiply. I skip it, I flip it, and I multiply. Okay? So, this is just going to be 120 over 150. Okay? Can I reduce that? Well, if I have a 0 and a 0 in the same place, I can cross those out. So it's 12/15, but can I reduce that even further? I can divide 12 by 3 and 15 by 3 and get 4/5. Okay, so for every 1 square mile Xavier does, Bao does 4/5. Let's recap how we did that. We took Xavier and we divided it by Bao. We took this and divided it by this. When you divide fractions, you write them horizontally. You skip it, you flip it, you multiply. And that's how you get the unit rate. All right, let's do number 6. Tell whether each statement is true or false. The ratio 3/8 to 1/2 has a unit rate of 3/16. Remember, we can write ratios with the word 2 in the middle. We can write them with a colon in the middle, or we can write them as fractions. I want to write all of these ratios that they give us as fractions, okay? So that's our job. We're going to turn all these different ratios into fractions. Let's go ahead and start with A. We have 3/8 divided by 1/2. All of these, all you do is you take the first one and put it on top, second one, put it on bottom. Now, how do I divide fractions? I write them horizontally. and then I do my skip, flip, and multiply. So I'm going to skip my first one, so it's still going to be 3/8. I'm going to flip my next one, so it's going to be 2 over 1, and then I multiply. And multiply straight across. 3 times 2 is 6. 8 times 1 is 8. 6/8. So this says it has a unit rate of 3/16. Do those match up? No, so that is false. Okay, let's go ahead and do the next one. I'm going to erase my work. I know you guys can't erase your work as easily. Maybe we'll just try to do our work smaller, and we'll try to do it over here maybe. We'll try to fill this whole area up with problems. Let me go and erase this one just for now. And I'll try to do my other problems in a different color so you can see. Okay, so first I want to make this into a fraction. Just put the 9 on top. Put the 1/6 on the bottom. How do I divide fractions? Well, I rewrite them. This is going to be 9 divided by 1/6. I skip it, I flip it, and I multiply. So it's going to be 9 times 6 over 1. 6 over 1 is the same thing as just 6. And 9 times 6 is 54. So does it work? Did I get a unit rate of 54? Yes, I did. So we're going to say true. All right. C. 2/5 to 1/4. So we're going to rewrite this as a fraction. 2/5 divided by 1/4. How do I divide fractions? I write them left to right. 2/5 divided by 1/4. I skip it, I flip it, and I multiply. So skip the first one, flip the next one, and multiply. 4 times 2 is 8. 5 times 1 is 5. Did we get 8/5? Yes, we did. Oh, I'm really going to change it up on you. Light green. Okay, so we're going to take this one now, and we're going to divide it. Ooh, this one's going to be a little tricky. So we're going to rewrite it as 5 1/2 divided by 1 1/2. Okay, now here's what I need you guys to remember. You can't multiply and divide fractions if they are in mixed number form. Remember, in mixed number it would have a whole number mixed with a fraction. So we have to do a few little extra steps. First, we have to turn both of these into improper fractions. And we do that by saying times. So you would times 5 times 2, and then you would add the numerator, the 1. So 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 more is 1. That's 11. And then we keep the denominator. Okay, let's do it to this one. Times plus 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 more is 3, and then we keep the denominator. Now I can rewrite them horizontally, I keep doing that. 11 halves divided by 3 halves. Now when I divide by fractions, I have to skip it, I have to flip it, and I have to multiply. 11 halves times 2/3, okay? These two cancel out, so I have 11 thirds. Now you're probably thinking, hold up, that doesn't match that. But this is still an improper fraction. 11 thirds is improper. We got to turn 11 thirds into a mixed number. How we do that is we ask ourselves, how many times can I take 3 out of 11? So if I took it out once, what's 11 minus 3? 8. So I'd have an 8 if I took it out once. If I took it out twice, that means I would take another 3 from it, so that would be 8, 7, 6, 5. So now that'd be a 5. Can I take another 3 out of 5? Yes, I can. So I'm going to take another one out, and 5 minus 3 is 2. Okay. How many times was I able to take 3 out of 11 without going too low? 1, 2, 3 different times. So that 3 is going to be our whole number 3. Okay, big 3. Now, what's left over? A 2. That's where we ended, right? That's where we stopped. So that's going to be our new numerator, and then we just keep the denominator the same, So now, did we get 3 2/3? Yes, we did. So it is true. So let's re-talk about that one for a second. That one was a little longer than the rest. The reason why it was a little longer than the rest is because we had to change these mixed fractions into improper fractions before we could divide. And then we had to go change it back to a mixed fraction. Okay? All right. Almost done. Elisa, maybe that's how you say it. Elisa is practicing her clarinet. She plays 1/8 of a song in a half of a minute. Okay, that sounds like a rate to me, okay? So I'm gonna write that down. 1/8 of a song per 1/2 of a minute. At this rate, she will play a whole song in how many minutes? Okay? So you could take 1/8 and keep adding it or you could keep adding the minutes until you get 8/8, right? So if I had a table, I could say 1/8. So let's have song length be at the top of this table, and then we'll have minutes be at the bottom. Okay. So if I had a chart like this, I would say for every 1/8 of a song, she can play it in a half minute. So then 2/8 of a song would take 1 minute. Because see, it doubles. And then 3/8 of a song would take 1.5 minutes. 4/8 of a song would take 2 minutes. 5/8 of a song would take 2.5. And then 6/8, 7/8. Ooh, am I running out of paper? Oh no, make little lines. Okay, so this would be 3, 3.5, and 4. So technically, I could have done that. I could have made this little chart, and I could have just kept adding. But since we can do that, do you see how we found a unit rate? Remember, a unit rate means there's 1 of something. I see 1 in minutes, okay? We could have made a unit rate by dividing these two things. I'm going to erase my work. And I want to show you what I'm talking about. So you could have made this big chart. If you did make that big chart, that's great. Now you can just pay attention to the rest of this. I'm actually just going to divide this. 1/8 divided by 1/2. How do I divide fractions? I skip it, I flip it, and I multiply. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 8 is 8. That's 2/8. Now hold up. That's my unit rate. Isn't that what we literally just saw with my big chart that I made? That means for every 1 minute, she goes 2/8 of a song. So if you were to divide these two numbers, that's how you would find your unit rate, not the answer to the problem, because now it wants to know how long will it take her to play a whole song. So then I could take my unit rate, which is 2/8, and I could just go ahead and multiply it. Okay, if I would multiply it by a whole song of 1/8, 2/8 times 1/8, eventually would get 4. Okay? So it's a long way to go about it, but it works. Okay, let's go ahead. I'm going to erase my work down here because I know that I have to share the space for number 8. Tyler looks at a map on his phone. He zooms in, zooms way in, until the map scale for centimeters to kilometers is 0.321/5. What that means is for every 0.3 of a centimeter, it's actually 1/5 of a kilometer. Okay? How many centimeters does the map use to show 1 kilometer? Okay? I'm actually going to show you a new way to solve this. This is kind of fun. I'm going to make an equal sign right here, and I'll show you why. I'm going to set this fraction, and I'm going to set it up equal to a new fraction. I'm going to use x for my unknown number. Okay? My unknown number is how many centimeters? It's saying how many centimeters. That's what I'm going to go find, right? So that's my unknown number. I'm going to put it up here. I'm lining centimeters up with centimeters, okay? They have to be on top. If they're going to be on top together, they could have been on bottom. They have to be on bottom together, which means I'm going to be putting kilometers on the bottom. How many centimeters does the map use to show 1 kilometer? Okay, this is a really fun way to solve this. The first thing you do is you set them up like this, and then we're going to do something called cross multiplication. Okay, what that means is I'm going to take the things that are directly across from one another and multiply them by each other. Okay, I'm going to do the first one of 0.3 times 1. Well, that's easy. 0.3 times 1 is just 0.3. Now I'm going to bring my equal sign down because that thing doesn't move. And now I have 1/5 times x, which looks like this. See how they're butted up right next to each other? When things are butted up right next to each other, that means times. Now I need to solve for x. This is called algebra. This is what we're going to be doing a ton of this year. To solve for x, you want to get rid of whatever is happening to it. What's happening to x right now? Well, it's being multiplied by 1/5, which means I need to get rid of 1/5. And when you want to get rid of things, you have to do the opposite of what that thing is. It's being multiplied, so I'm going to try to divide. And what do I know about dividing is I have to divide by the reciprocal. The reciprocal means the flip. So if I were to multiply this side by 5/1, these 5s would cancel out, these 1s would cancel out, and then before I know it, it's all gone, and I just have an x, which is what I want. But here's the catch. If I do it to one side of my equation, I have to go over here and do it to the other side of my equation. Okay? So now, 5/1 is the same thing as just 5. I have 5 times 0.3. 5 times 3 is 15. Move my decimal over 1. And now I solved what x equals. 1.5 equals x. Okay? X was my unknown number for when it said how many centimeters. I now know it takes 1.5 centimeters to show 1 kilometer. So the answer is D. So this problem, number 8, this is a special problem. I want you to remember this one, okay? We used cross multiplication. And I will give you guys more practice problems in class on how to do that, because cross multiplication is the best way to solve ratio problems like this. And it's really fun because you get to do some algebra. Okay, number 9. Write a word problem that you can solve by simplifying a complex fraction and explain how to find the answer. Okay, I am actually gonna have us skip this one just for time's sake. I feel like there are other problems that we could be using our time more wisely on in class besides this one to explain. So please skip number 9. And then that would be it, which means tomorrow, let's see, let me see if there's any more green pages after this. Oh, no more green pages, woohoo! Which means we're gonna go over these problems together in class, and then we will study for a quiz. And then we will have a quiz on lesson 2. All right, bye guys. Oh, wait, before I go, don't forget, scan this last page, page 46. Scan it and upload it for homework. All right, bye.